The screech of rubber on gravel tore through the morning calm, followed by a blaring honk that made my coffee cup tremble in my hand. I stepped onto the porch just in time to see a black Jeep Wrangler roaring down my private driveway like it was a racetrack. The driver, a kid in a Letterman jacket, barely glanced at me, his eyes daring me to get in his way. He didn't slow, just swerved past my garage, nearly clipped my dog Rusty, and peeled out through a gap in my fancy makeshift gate I sure as hell hadn't installed. Before I could process it, another car followed, then a third, their tires kicking up dust as they treated my dead-end driveway like a public highway. This wasn't a mistake. This was an invasion. My wife, Emily, and I had bought this corner lot 2 years ago for its seclusion, the long, winding driveway our shield against the chaos of the sprawling Willow Creek neighborhood. I'm an industrial engineer, working from home, and quiet is my lifeline. But that week, I'd noticed extra tire tracks scarring the grass near my hedges. At first, I chalked it up to the mail carrier making a sloppy turn, or maybe the neighbor's teenager practicing parallel parking. No big deal. Then, 3 days ago, I found a handwritten sign staked into my lawn. Community Flow Access Temporary Routing Approved by HOA. My stomach twisted. I'm not naive. I've seen HOAs nitpick over mailbox colors or fine people for untrimmed shrubs, but this? Rerouting traffic through my private land? This was war. I ripped the sign from the ground and marched to the HOA office, a gaudy model home repurposed with fake plants and motivational posters. There, I met Sandra, the HOA president, whose smile was as sharp as a paper cut. She had the posture of someone who'd never lost an argument and a voice that could sell you a timeshare or shred you in the same breath. "Oh, Nathan, you're here about the routing," she said, peering over her glasses like I was a kid who'd wandered into the wrong classroom. "It's just a temporary flow solution for the construction on Pine Street. Your driveway's so accessible." I told her she had no right to turn my property into a thoroughfare. Her smile widened, predatory. "Actually, it's adjacent to the community boundary, which makes it a soft access zone per board approval." I demanded to see this soft access zone clause in any legal document. She tapped her tablet, promising to share it at next month's meeting conveniently after the Pine Street project was set to wrap. I left, fuming but determined to stay calm. Maybe a gate would fix this. But the next morning, I woke to find an HOA crew had beaten me to it. They'd torn out one of my junipers, laid a strip of cheap gravel across my yard, and erected a flimsy gate with orange traffic cones and a sign. "Exit only, please drive slow." On my land. That night, I called my cousin Derek, a property lawyer who operates out of his garage, the kind of guy who'd argue zoning law over burgers and a beer. I told him everything. "Document it all," he said. "Photos, timestamps, license plates. Don't touch their gate yet. Let them think they're winning." I asked what to do next. He chuckled. "Let them drive. We'll make them pay for every inch." The next day, the invasion escalated. I was on the porch, sipping coffee, when a caravan of SUV-7 in total rolled through like they were filming a car commercial. One honked when my trash can block their path. Another driver, a guy in sunglasses, waved like I was his personal valet. The final straw came when a woman in a minivan stopped, rolled down her window, and asked if I could move my mailbox to make it easier for her to swing wide. I stared, speechless, as she drove off. That evening, I caught my neighbor Greg lingering near my hedges, looking like he'd been caught stealing cookies. Greg's a solid guy, the kind who mows the community park but sneaks off to watch baseball during HOA meetings. "Look, Nathan," he whispered, "Sandra's pushing to make this permanent. She's got the HOA petitioning the county to call your driveway an easement unofficial emergency route. She's got 2 signatures already, needs 3 more." I felt the ground shift beneath me. They weren't just trespassing. They were trying to steal my land, legally, with paperwork and smug smiles. I thanked Greg and went inside, where Emily was waiting. "They're not stopping," I said, handing her a beer. She nodded. "Then we don't either." That night, I stood by the driveway with Rusty, staring at the gravel strip they'd laid. I'd paid a fortune for this plot, for this driveway, for peace. Now Sandra and her HOA cronies were annexing it with traffic cones and lies. But they'd miscalculated. They thought I'd roll over. They didn't know I used to design mechanical deterrent systems for warehouses, spike strips, tire shredders, remote gates. I smiled, took a swig of beer, and muttered to Rusty, "Time to fight dirty." Before I could unleash my plan, the HOA doubled down. I was brushing my teeth when Rusty started barking like a smoke alarm. From the bathroom window, I saw 4 guys in neon vests, community grounds crew, printed on their backs sawing through my backyard fence with power tools. Not pruning, not fixing demolishing. I threw on jeans, ran outside barefoot, and yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" One waved, casual as if he were watering plants. Sandra approved this. Alternate access from the park trail to maintain flow. Flow. That word again, like it justified everything. I pointed out my fence was clearly on my deeded property. He shrugged. Talk to Sandra. They left a gaping hole in my fence, a 5-foot-wide invitation for more cars. I called the police, reporting trespassing and property damage. The officer was sympathetic but hesitant. HOA disputes are usually civil, he said. Unless you've got proof of criminal intent, it's hard to act. I showed him my deed, plat map, even offered to print satellite images. He smiled. You've got your ducks in a row, but this is lawyer territory. That evening, I crashed the HOA's emergency town hall in the community clubhouse, a stuffy room with folding chairs and a table of stale donuts. I brought a poster of my property lines and a USB of security footage. Sandra sat at the head table, her tablet glowing like a scepter. "Oh, Nathan, you're here," she said, her tone dripping with fake warmth. "We were just discussing you." I laid out my case. Unauthorized traffic, destroyed fence, private property violation. Sandra brushed it off. The fence was a miscommunication. We thought it was Greenbelt land. I offered to project the city assessor's map right then. She declined, pivoting to her real agenda. "Your driveway is a key exit point during the Pine Street construction. Safety first, Nathan." I asked whose safety, pointing out Rusty nearly got hit by a speeding SUV. A few neighbors chuckled. Sandra didn't. Then she unveiled her trump card, a PowerPoint slide titled Temporary Easement Proposal Parcel 12C. My parcel. It outlined plans to designate my driveway as an emergency access lane under HOA control. I shouted that it was private property, requiring county approval. Sandra sighed. "We'll let the board vote." The board, 5 people who'd either never met me or once fined me for a crooked mailbox, voted 3-2 in favor. "Proposal passed," Sandra chirped. "Non-binding, but it gives us flexibility." I left the meeting ready to scream. Derek called. Having watched the live stream, Sandra insisted on transparency. "She just screwed herself," he said. "That vote's based on lies, and it's on record. Get her to confirm she knows it's false, and we've got her." When I got home, a letter was taped to my garage door, Sandra's signature at the bottom. "Dear homeowner, we're excited to announce the pilot phase of community flow routing. Please remove obstructions from the driveway for smooth passage. Thank you for a better tomorrow." A smiley face sticker mocked me. I sat on the porch with Rusty, watching another car nearly hit my garden hose. This wasn't a driveway anymore. It was a freeway, and Sandra thought she'd won. She didn't know I'd already filed a cease and desist through Derek, requested a county zoning clarification, and set up trail cams to record every car. Best of all, I'd started designing my counterstrike. Back in my logistics days, I'd worked on motorized spike strips for restricted loading zone, steel spikes raised remotely to shred tires. Illegal on public roads, but on private land? Fair game. I ordered industrial gravel, sharp enough to rattle undercarriages, and began building a spike system powered by a solar panel, controlled by a Bluetooth remote. I called it Operation Road Reaper. The setup took 2 days. The gravel turned my smooth driveway into a jagged gauntlet. The spike strip, hidden under a metal plate disguised with dirt, lay in wait. I posted a sign at the entrance. Private property, no through traffic, proceed at own risk. Within 20 minutes, the first victim arrived, Sandra herself, in a gleaming white Audi. I stood on the porch, iced tea in hand, Rusty by my side. She barreled in, ignoring the sign, her car bouncing over the gravel. I clicked the remote. The spike shot up with a hiss. Her tires crunched, then deflated with a pathetic pft. Her Audi lurched, rims grinding, and stopped dead. Sandra stepped out, wobbling in heels, staring at her ruined tires. She spotted me and screamed, "You sabotaged the road." I sipped my tea. Driveway. Private. Not a road. She jabbed a finger at the ground. There are spikes. Deterrents, I corrected. For uninvited guests. You'll hear from my lawyer. The cars behind her honked, then peeled out, abandoning her. By morning, a certified HOA letter demanded I remove the dangerous installations. I replied with Derek's letterhead, listing their trespasses and including a security cam still of Sandra ignoring my sign. That afternoon, Derek and I attended another HOA meeting. Sandra, sporting a bandaged ankle, held up photos of her flat tires like evidence at a murder trial. She called me a community menace and demanded fines. Derek stood, passing out copies of my deed. What shared infrastructure? Nathan owns every inch of that driveway. Your vote was based on fraud. He held up a screenshot of Sandra's memo admitting she knew my land was private. The room went quiet. A board member, Tom, muttered, "Are we liable for this?" Derek grinned. "Oh yeah." The meeting collapsed, the board scrambling to distance themselves from Sandra. But I had one more card to play. Months ago, I'd noticed a neglected triangle of land behind my fence, technically outside my parcel, but used by the HOA as part of their flow corridor. It was county-owned, abandoned by the developer. I'd bought it at auction, dirt cheap, and kept it quiet. Sandra's whole plan hinged on that land being community greenbelt. It wasn't. It was mine. At the next HOA meeting, packed with residents buzzing about the spike strip guy, Derek played night vision footage of Sandra's nephew, Ethan, and HOA workers cutting my gate's lock at midnight. Gasps filled the room. I handed Sandra an envelope. She opened it, expecting a complaint, and found the deed to the triangle lot. "That land's mine," I said loudly. "Your shortcut's closed." Her face went blank. A board member moved to review Sandra's actions. The vote was unanimous. Sandra's final gambit came in the HOA newsletter, an emergency safety ordinance to claim my driveway during disruptions. Derek and I took it to the county. The inspector, Mike, laughed when he saw it. "She's got nerve." At a chaotic HOA meeting, Mike stood. "This map's illegal. It implies county support it doesn't have. Your ordinance violates zoning laws, and we're auditing your governance." He revealed the footage of Ethan's trespassing was now with police. Sandra stammered, but the room turned. A board member called for a no-confidence vote. Hands shot up. As Sandra fled, a tow truck driver interrupted. "Karen here? Got an order to repo an HOA vehicle for misused funds." Laughter erupted. Sandra resigned the next morning, her email a mix of threats and self-pity. The HOA apologized, affirming my rights. I threw a barbecue on my driveway, unveiling a plaque. "Private property violators will be spiked." Neighbors brought beer, Mike grabbed a burger, and Rusty basked in the quiet. The gravel gleamed under the stars, a monument to a battle won not just for my land, but for anyone who dares to fight a bully with a clipboard.